I'd like to welcome all of you. I hope that this film that you're about to see will inspire you to pick up a telephone, to email, to share this information with other people. When the film is completed, we're going to give you as a gift 3 separate documentaries as you exit. We're going to give you Death by Medicine, Prescription for Disaster, and this film. They all relate to the medical industrial complex. The reason I decided to do this film is because of what I saw in the 1980s, where there was a move by the Food and Drug Administration to deprive us of our freedom of choice. The FDA felt that they had the power to claim that any food or nutrient that would make any difference in our health could not be discussed. In other words, you couldn't say that you could have broccoli because it had an anti-cancer agent, or you couldn't eat carrots because it provided vitamin A, which helped improve the chances of you not getting night blindness. In fact, they were so radical that they said you cannot make any claim at all for any food to heal or prevent any disease, nor any nutrient to do the same. I debated the commissioner of the FDA. I debated many people. I went around the United States. I went to 55 communities. I was on ABC Radio Network at the time, and WABC. I had a very popular program. And it gave me an opportunity to inspire the audience that I had and had accumulated over many years on ABC to think about something as simple as, do you want to be able to take vitamins if you choose to? Because if the FDA has its way, you will not have that choice. As a result, due to those efforts and those of the National Health Federation and other individuals working within the health field, we were able to get the FDA defeated. They literally lost this one, and we ended up having passed by different individuals DSHEAs, which protected you and has up to this point. But then in the last 2 years, there has been an accelerated effort on behalf of our federal agencies, including the USDA and the FDA and the White House, both the Bush and the Obama White House, to put into positions of power more than 100 individuals from major corporations, over 40 from just Monsanto alone, where they now oversee our health. For example, one individual who was a top lawyer at Monsanto came over and became a top official at the FDA, allowed genetically engineered foods to get a green light, then went back to Monsanto, then came back to the FDA as head of food safety. This time around, sponsoring legislation and a particular bill, the Food Safety Bill 510, which at the outside, you'd say, why? We have dozens of laws to protect us from bad foods and drugs or dangerous nutrients. Why would we need another? And when I looked carefully at it, immediately I saw what it was about. It was a very clever in-run where the FDA and the USDA and those people behind the scenes, now we know those are ALEC individuals. Before, for years, we could never figure out how every state suddenly won the same bill. Every state won the same law. Mandatory vaccinations of Gardasil. How does every single one of the 50 states end up passing the same legislation at the same time? But we couldn't find who was behind it. We were told no one's behind it. We are conscientious state legislators wanting to protect our citizens, and vaccination gives them immunization, and we want to guard the health of our young daughters. We did not have the evidence on our side to push back. Once it was exposed a year ago, or within the last year, I should say, that there was a large group of individuals joined together, paying dues, McDonald's, many of the Coca-Cola, and all these other mega corporations who work together to meet once or twice a year with state legislators, give them bills that protected their interest and deprived us of ours, that would open up them to be able to manufacture gas hydrofrac in New York State, without any thought of cleaning up their mess. By the way, that's actually the law now in Pennsylvania. If you make a mess, and in Ohio specifically, in Ohio, if a gas hydrofracture destroys the environment, they don't have to clean it up, the citizens do. That's how well done the legislation was, but not for the people of the state. Now that they were exposed, I ask our audience, boycott all ALEC companies. It's working. About 24 of those companies that originally belonged to ALEC at least have distanced themselves. And many state legislators, dozens, have now vowed they will not go to any more ALEC meetings. But they're only about 10% at most of all the legislators who've sat down with ALEC and sold their soul. Then they come back pretty much being guaranteed that they will have the support of those companies in their upcoming re-election campaigns. But what do they get in return? When a legislator gives $1, they get over $100 in value back for it. So it's a good investment. So think of them giving $4 billion, through some 55,000 different consultants who do not have to register, specialist advisors that do not have to register, lobbyists who do. As a result, with the 530 members of Congress, when you then divide that by the number of lobbyists, they are overwhelmed. They're swimming in a sea of cash. Everything they will ever need, the incumbents have. But what we do not have is we do not have a federal government, a White House, or a state government that is there to pass bills that defend our health and our environmental health. When I saw what was happening, did you notice how many bills began to pass that had national security written all over them? But it had nothing to do with protecting us. It had to do with major corporations being protected from you showing your right of dissent. Habeas corpus, gone. The right to sue the individuals who had illegally wiretapped our phones, which were all of the telecommunication companies, gone. They gave them immunity, including Barack Obama. Protecting those who had read our emails. All of your emails are read. All of your phones are tapped. They have the right to do it, and they're using that right. Why? Since when did we become terrorist suspects? Once you start a bureaucracy, it never ends. The trouble is in our society, we have never looked carefully at what our governmental agencies have become. In my personal opinion, all governmental agencies have become metastasized cancers on the heart of the American public. These are not bureaucracies that are there to defend us, the military-industrial complex, with $1.3 trillion in expenditures. How much do we need to actually stay safe? About $200 billion a year. Then why are we spending such an enormous amount of money? Because those colonels and majors and generals and procurement officers and others who were in the Pentagon and the military-industrial complex then go to work for the very defense contractors, Raytheon, Halliburton, and then walk right back in the governmental agencies saying, you need this system. But this system costs $20 billion. It'll take 10 years to develop, and by the time it's developed, it'll be antiquated. So what? It'll bring jobs to your area, some jobs. And it's good for you, but not for the American public. In every agency, National Institutes of Health, the for-profit insurance agencies, the pharmaceutical industry, and the for-profit hospital associations have joined together. And just look at the log of the lobbyists that go to the White House. Look at the individuals who have sponsored legislation to keep you from being able to, if you needed an inexpensive drug, to get it in Medicare, Medicaid, or VA. You can't. They wrote the law. They wrote a 1,200-page plus law, the Medicare law. No member of Congress read it. They voted on it in the middle of the night, and within a short period of time after that, the people in Congress who were members of Congress who pushed that, lobbied for it, immediately went to work for very high-paying jobs in the pharmaceutical industry. And today, we have this monstrosity of a health care plan. And it is not whether it's right or left, it's just wrong. It will not prevent any disease. There is nothing in the Obama health care plan that will prevent disease nor give you the option of having the best alternative therapy if you have a condition that needs help. To the contrary, you can be fully insured today, go into a hospital with a life-threatening condition, and the hospital can refuse, the insurance company can refuse to pay for that bill, which throws you suddenly into a catastrophic event. For over 10 years, the number one reason for bankruptcy was our health care bills. We just couldn't pay for them. Now, after the great bubble collapse in subprime mortgages, it fell down to second or third place, but it's right back up there again. Now, we have 90 million Americans who are over 47 years of age. There's not one single person in the entire United States government who has created any program to care about your health as you get older. Now, how in the world can you have 90 million people who are at risk of Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, inflammatory conditions, heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and no one is doing anything to prevent this at all because they're not paid to prevent your disease. They're rewarded for profiteering off your disease. That is a nation of medical parasites. I decided no longer to walk up and gently knock on the door of bureaucracies and say, will you please pay attention to us? I decided to do a documentary that we'd win and kick the goddamn door down. Our problems have nothing to do with Democrats and Republicans. I am apolitical. This has everything to do with right and wrong, and that is completely political. We have to understand that we have been treated as if we are incompetent and incapable of making reasonable and rational choices in our life. Those of us who chose to eat healthy, to eat a high-fiber, raw food, living food, vegan diet, to flood our body with phytonutrients, healing enzymes, the chlorophyll that is essential for our body and DNA, we were considered, until still to this day, are considered nuts. We're considered crazy. We're considered loons. We're denigrated. For the doctors, the scientists, the professors within their fields who have looked at the evidence and it is so overwhelming, they say, I can no longer deny the truth of what really causes a person to stay well and what reverses disease. These people were delegated to the sidelines. They were taken out of their sacred positions of trust within the orthodoxy. Why? Because in America today we have only one truth, and that is official truth. If you do not believe in the official truth, then you're considered of no consequence in the dialogue. You will not find those in philosophy, education, in medicine, in finance, in environmental studies, in social work, in anything relevant who are challenging the status quo, invited to share their thoughts. So all you have is an official media, the New York Times, the Washington Post, Fox, MSNBC, all the major media are official representatives of the official truth. So even if you could take a cured patient with absolute proof that they have been reversed in their disease by your therapies using natural non-toxic, they must deny it because it is not official. But if you were to cure someone using the most toxic drug in the world, you would immediately be praised for that, and you would be the leader of a new generation of healthcare based upon the model you've created. So we accept abject failure with chronic care in the United States, arthritis, heart disease, cancer, inflammatory diseases, digestive diseases, depression. There is no major success, and yet we give them over $2.7 trillion this year. And yet those in the alternative field, those holistic nurses, chiropractors, nutritionists, dietitians, massage therapists, all the people who are qualified, credentialed, who are seeking the right answers outside of the paradigm, helping their patients, they're given nothing. Zero. Now, it's one thing if you had some people who were denied. They deny everyone. Why? Surely there must be some doctor somewhere you could give some credit for and say they've done it right. They can't. Understand they can't. Because once you allow the virus of change in, they cannot control it. No different than if you had the right information for the right protest on the right issue and you went like Bill McKibben and stood with 12,000 others over several months and 1,200 of you were arrested. The media only covered that when Daryl Hannah was arrested. It was only of interest to the official media when an official celebrity was arrested. Otherwise, no media coverage of any consequence. But then did anyone do anything? No one did anything because they weren't forced to. At the very time that these people were gallantly and with bravery, including Chris Hedges, standing forefront and saying, you cannot do this without a pushback. And that person is there, Cornel West and Chris Hayes and others who spoke out about this and did something about it. They weren't giving any attention. If you're not famous, you don't make a headline. If your cause is not important, it doesn't get attention. Unfortunately, in this world, you're not important. The only significance you have is you're an economic commodity. You've been commodified and commercialized, and as long as you don't act out, speak out, or change, you're a perfect person for the system. When you defy them and you pull back, now you are radical. Isn't it amazing? Giving a woman synthetic hormone replacement therapy that by all science increases her risk by 13% minimum of a heart attack, stroke, breast cancer, ovarian cancer, colorectal cancer, and dementia, that's not radical. But giving Vitex, Squalvine, Passion Flower, and Dong Quai to help reverse hot flashes in a woman, that's radical. How absurd is it when they control the dialogue and the vocabulary to take good work that is empowering women and pathologize the women as if they're just another series of diseases to which orthodox medicine and official input from their scientists are the only cure. They are the disease, and we no longer should allow them to impact our thoughts. I would like to thank all of you who are watching from around the world. The last time we did this, 9 months ago here, and I want to thank the good people of the Ethical Culture Center who have been so hospitable to us, always gracious and always accommodating, that we ran out of space on the internet. So many people were trying to watch. We made sure that doesn't happen today. I believe that several million can watch this and without having a problem. We're going to begin in just about a minute. Following our program, we will then take a 10-minute break for you to stretch, and then we will reconvene. We'll take this out of the way so you can all watch from over here at the screen, and we will have a panel. You will have some remarkably unique insights into what the FDA has been doing. The FDA now has taken the power of Congress, which is the only power authorized to create laws unto itself. And you will hear from one of the best lawyers involving FDA litigation in the country. And they now want to make it against the law for you to be able to buy a vitamin that has not first passed their impossibly expensive, up to anywhere from $30 to $600 million to get a single nutrient passed under their conditions. It would mean the end of all supplementations. But also, if we do not fight back, it'll mean the end of organic gardening, because in that Senate bill, they have a whole system of bureaucratic paperwork and machinery that a small farmer would have to have. Otherwise, they would not be considered passing the rules. It'd put them out of business. So by doing nothing, within a year or two, you might not have any organic produce or supplements that you could take. If they say otherwise, they are liars. But they're liars in any case. Anytime anyone in Washington opens their mouth, they're lying. They're incapable. And we've had enough of it. We've had enough of the pandering. We've had enough of the shills for the left and the right, the talking heads on MSNBC, the foolish notion that somehow we should believe them. Today, at the advice of my brother Stephen, who's been a major activist, and my brother Stephen, who's here, was responsible for getting the lead out of the gasoline in India. No small measure. No one had done it before. He's done it. Also getting the lead out of... He also managed to get the lead out of the gasoline in the Dominican Republic, got a heart-lung machine, which they never had, plus chelation therapy for the children in India and chelation therapy for the children in the Dominican Republic. And every pregnant woman in the Dominican Republic gets free prenatal vitamins because of his work. So I'd like to acknowledge my little brother. Where's he at? Stand up, Steve. And last night, he said, why don't you invite President Obama and Mitt Romney on, not for debate, but to discuss the health care plan and see what their ideas would be. Well, today, our producer, Richard Gell, we sent President Obama an invitation, a cordial invitation, to come on the show and allow for a discussion of 20 points. And we shared our 20 points of concern. Would he come on and say how he would deal with these 20 issues? Same thing with Mitt Romney. My hope is that they will take advantage of this and come on and share with us their concerns. So I'll let you know if the feedback is positive, they're coming on. If not, it isn't. We're going to continue going forward. So now let us turn off all of our cell phones, please, and we will watch. It's about an hour and a half long. And I also want to acknowledge the people who spent well over a year and a half working with us on this. Richie, back here. Val, back here. Our executive editor and senior producer on this. And in the very near future, just so you know what's coming, because I believe we're in a perfect storm. I believe that within the next 24 months, America will face social challenges. I believe that the 254 million Americans who are suffering and will continue to suffer and nothing will change for them will begin to go to the streets. I believe our streets will become increasingly chaotic, and you will see what is happening in other countries where they've cut back. You'll see it in the United States, in major cities. I'm doing a program, it is done, it has to go in post-production, on getting old in America. So at least those people who are above 50 can have a voice so we can see what they're living through. I've been finished all my photography now on them, all my interviews. We have another major feature documentary I'll premiere in the late fall called Poverty, Inc. I want to tell the full story of how we got to where we're at, where 1% or less of the country controls so much of the resources, so many others suffer, and why it won't reverse itself. All that is in that film. I want to show all of you who've been told that you have social anxiety disorder and that you have authority defiance disorder, me, and I'm sure many of you. I have almost finished my filming. I still have a couple weeks of filming on Manufacturing Madness, our film which is almost completed on genetic engineering. And we have filmed in India with Vandana Shiva and all the people and showing the people, 250,000 people telling their story who've committed suicide because of Monsanto and other companies promising them great benefits using their genetically engineered crops, and they take out microloans. They can't buy back the microloans. So on the day the microloan is due, their home is there as collateral. They come in and take their home. The person goes out in the field, and you'll see this, and just drinks their pesticide and dies. The government of India doesn't give a damn about its own people and allows this to happen, and we care even less. Okay, so let's see a commercial for Monsanto and its Roundup Ready, and let's see on the other side some people drinking their product. Wonder how that's going to go down. All right? So when I do something, I'm not going to blink on this. I'm going to show you the reality. And that's why I'm asking you to do just a few things after tonight. I'm asking you to see the power of one. I've heard so many times. In fact, yesterday when I was at the UN, any of you here from the UN yesterday who saw my lecture? Yes. Do you remember the psychologist who took on a whole rage about, we can't really change. Most people can't change. She was quoting Maslow. Well, first off, I disagree. I believe that any human being is capable of change based upon the circumstances they're faced with and the determination of what they want to do. I believe in the power of one. I don't wait until there's enough of us to cause a paradigm shift. I don't believe that'll happen, but I do believe that you, each of you, can do the following and it will make a difference. Become a vegan, a healthy vegan. Don't shop in a Walmart or any more box stores. Tear up your credit cards. Take your money out of their banks. Demand that your pensions invest only in those things that are honoring other people and other cultures, not exploiting them as they did for so long. Some of the largest pensions in the United States were invested heavily in South African apartheid corporations without thinking the consciousness of those choices. Stop watching their television, reading their newspapers. Don't vote Democrat or Republican. Vote independent. We have, and hopefully in time, we will vote for one independent where they all come together. It'll take another election cycle to do that. Don't buy any clothes that is not made with fair trade or union labor in the United States. Respect the fact that we have to put people back to work. All right? Don't buy genetically engineered food. Buy locally grown organic food. Support local artisans. Support people. Engage in trade, barter, fair exchange. Also, offer a legitimate challenge. Share the information of what you've experienced with other people. And then one person is not alone. They've always won the big battles because we look at this Goliath David. If people who have progressive ideas can focus upon ideas and not ideology, leave their egos at the door, then we will have 1,000 Davids to each of their Goliath. And then let's see how powerful one is when it's one times 1,000 sharing a common belief. Thank you.